3 words: emotional freedom therapy. Have you ever felt trapped by past trauma, stifled by negative self-talk, or burdened by health problems? These are all issues that we can relate to. Just ask British royalty. Joining us with more on this unique approach to breaking the cycle of suffering is Cyndi Dale, energy healer, speaker, intuitive, and author of Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress, and Chronic Conditions. It's great to have you join us.
I'm very happy to be here. We could all release a little trauma about this time, couldn't we?
We certainly could. We talked a lot about emotional stress during the time of COVID. Of course, a lot of people felt isolated, but stress is something that we feel, pandemic or not.
We're always stressed. And, stress can be positive. I would love the stressor of winning the lottery. I would love to adapt to that. But stress only becomes a problem when we can't get a sense of balance again, when we can't achieve that sort of way of moving forward. And I think people are actually more stressed now than during the pandemic because we're trying to catch up. We're trying to get back into so-called normal, but there isn't really a normal anymore.
So it hasn't really gone back to exactly the way it was before March of 2020. But I wanted to ask you, so 3 words that I mentioned at the top of the segment: emotional freedom therapy, or EFT. What is this?
Well, it's a very interesting and powerful technique to work with your positive energy and release the negative energy that's causing you stress or trauma. Trauma is when we can't release those stressors, emotional or physical, that lock into our body. It's also called tapping. It's been around for several years, and it literally involves tapping different pressure points on your body while you're saying a phrase, a particular phrase, so you can let go of what's bothering you and get to that sort of new normal and move ahead.
What does the tapping do? Why tapping?
Well, it's fascinating because it actually relates to meridian-based therapies like acupuncture. It's like doing acupuncture without needles. And you don't have to go anywhere. You can do it in your car, not when you're driving. You can do it anywhere that you absolutely want to, because you're particularly tapping on what they call acupoints, or energy points that hold your tension, and you're releasing the tension or the old trauma or new trauma as you're going. So what you first do is create a phrase, and you begin with a negative. So you think about a problem that you have. I think we all have a nice laundry list. So just hold that in mind, anything from finances to physical to your next door neighbor or whatever it might be.
Okay.
All right. And then you package that in a phrase, like, even though I'm dealing with whatever you've come up with, I deeply and completely accept myself. So just kind of go over that. Even though I'm dealing with the world, I deeply and completely accept myself.
All right.
So that's your phrase. Then there's 9 points that we want to tap. And you tap with a couple fingers while you're repeating that phrase inside or aloud. And they suggest you do this 3 times, for each point, but let's not take that long.
Okay.
All right.
So where would be the first place that we would start tapping?
You do what's called a karate chop. So you take one of your hands, yep, and on the opposite side of your thumb, you start tapping. Good. That's your first point. You've done your first point. You're sort of focused on your phrase, right? So you're 1 out of 9 now. Second point, we're going to go up here, top of your head. You can see why you have to practice this a lot, because it's
just like, don't ask me to rub my stomach at the same time.
You're not going to.
Okay.
Thinking the phrase, that's your second spot. Then you go inside the eyebrows.
Okay.
So go down to the inside of your eyebrows. These are all acupoints, so they're all doing something different. You're focusing on your phrase. Then you go to the outside of your eye.
Okay.
Under the eye. All right. Under the nose, under the chin, right here, collarbone, and under the arm.
Is this supposed to be sort of a distraction from the negativity that you're so focused on? Or is this actually doing something metaphysical?
Acupoints. So I don't think they're just metaphysical, because there's studies that show that there actually are meridians that run through your connective tissue, and they actually come up to the surface of your skin in different points. In fact, forever ago, a couple French guys injected people, it's sort of a horrible study, with radioactive isotopes, and they were able to watch those isotopes move through the body where the meridians are, and they come up at the acupoints. So you're releasing negative energy and you're locking in something positive.
Very interesting. Well, on that note, I'm going to tap on this meridian point. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. We've been chatting with Cyndi Dale. She's an expert in this really interesting form of therapy called emotional freedom therapy, or EFT tapping. And you just had us do a practice run where we focus on something that's been stressing us out, and then you just start tapping on parts of your body which are considered meridians, which then act as a way of releasing this stress. I think it's fascinating. In fact, it's practiced by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, better known as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So they're into this kind of new wave of therapeutic practice. But I wanted to ask you, there's some other ways in which people do kind of self-healing, and I wanted you to take us through, what is thought field therapy?
There's different types of thought field therapy. Some of them are actually related to the emotional freedom technique, or EFT, where you're replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And there's additional ways of doing tapping to actually do that kind of work and to integrate those positive thoughts, because what we do really comes down to our beliefs, and most of those are subconscious. So you can use that tapping in EFT. There's 9 processes where you do karate point, top of the head, here, 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 and here, and here, right? And you're tapping with some new thought form in order to replace what you just know is getting you in trouble.
And real quick, before we leave this interview, could you tell everybody about your book and how people can find out more information about what you do, and if you offer sessions virtually? Because you're located all the way out west. So for anybody who's watching out here, can they contact you?
I'm in the Midwest where it's hot and not as bad as the West.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, my book is Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress, and Chronic Illness. I'm CyndiDale.com, spelled weird, CYNDI, Dale.com. I do sessions. I get booked out there, but I'm always open to take a look at the schedule. And, I teach a lot of classes, and I love teaching people how to use these and other types of energy ideas for themselves or for the people who they love.
And for any of the naysayers out there, how do you convince them that this is something that could actually potentially help them?
Science. There's studies. Look up studies that are proving the existence of meridians, studies that are proving that something like EFT is effective with anxiety or post-traumatic stress, or releasing, kind of what's old. There's so many studies on there. Healing Touch program has some. So does the EFT type of website. So, go to science, because science is catching up with what the ancients used to know.
And a lot of this is based in Chinese medicine, which is thousands of years old as well. It's really fascinating. And you're also writing a book about making food and healthy choices through the chakras. And we've all heard of chakras. So that's going to be a really interesting read as well. Cyndi, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
We're back after this.